from the station working for you. This is WRTV News at 11, streaming now.
First at 11, WRTV is working for you, helping you prepare for a wintry mix heading towards central Indiana. Good evening and thanks for joining us tonight. I'm Nicole Griffin. We start with meteorologist Kyle Mounts and a WRTV Storm Team alert. Kyle.
Yeah, Nicole, things are going to get changing here as we head through the overnight and especially into our Monday morning. We're alert because we've got a morning mix of rain and snow. First time in a while we've had to talk about some snowflakes, and that will transition to some snow showers. At this point, most areas looking at an inch or less of accumulation, but there will be some exceptions there. And we're also going to have some winds coming out of the north that will drive those wind chills into the 20s. Right now, temperatures in good shape. We are all well above freezing. Most areas still sitting in the 40s right now. 42 in Indy, 41 in the Muncie area. Starting to see a few light rain shower returns on radar here, but again, just some very light rain in around North Vernon and also as we make our way toward the Richmond area. Wider view, though, shows that we've got more of that wet weather that will be streaming up from the south as we head through the overnight. And a look at TrueCast here as we go towards 6 a.m. That's when we start to get some of that colder air in here and that mix of rain and snow showers. So it could be a little bit sloppy here for the morning drive. Certainly allow a little extra time for that. And then we get some bursts of some moderate snow possible here, especially across the eastern portion of the state. So as you head out the door in the morning, some rain showers transitioning to snow showers. Temperatures, though, should be in the middle 30s. So that should help us out on the roads as we get things started. Coming up, though, we'll detail the colder air that moves in as we round out the month of November.
All right, Kyle, thank you. Around 20 drivers with the Indiana Department of Transportation will deploy at 3 o'clock this morning. They will be monitoring conditions and looking for slick spots to treat on the interstates. INDOT spokeswoman Mallory Duncan says the department is prepared and fully staffed for this bout of winter weather.
We've actually started preparing all of our winter ops since October, and that includes not only preparing our trucks, which take a lot to kind of move from our summer operations to winter. In addition, we've hired all the seasonal drivers we need. We're going to keep adding them. We actually have another hiring event on Thursday.
We will bring you details about that hiring event as soon as it's released, and you can also find more information about working for INDOT and apply for open positions anytime at indotjobs.com. An Eastside church is lifting major financial burdens off of hundreds of people by erasing $2 million in medical debt. WRTV's Troy Washington shows this anonymous effort is just another example of Hoosiers helping Hoosiers as the pandemic continues.
We really believe in reaching out beyond the walls of the church. So during this time, we want people to know that though the building is not open, the body is still operating.
We ought to be secure in our serving.
For months now, New Direction Church has been meeting virtually because of the pandemic, but that isn't stopping them from lending a real hand to Hoosiers in need.
We have been able to successfully pay off medical debt for over 2,000 Hoosiers in the Indianapolis area. And to date, we have paid over $3 million worth of debt off.
Last year, the church gave $1 million to the cause of helping those swimming in medical debt.
We want to make sure we come alongside of people at this critical time and really begin to pay off their debt.
This year, they are doubling their efforts because, as everyone can tell, the extra help is needed more than ever.
So we partner with RIP, and they are able to purchase debt and pay it down. With us making an investment, they're able to do so much more.
And the reach of the good goes far beyond just a few areas in the city.
15 different zip codes in the Indianapolis area, 15 different zip codes.
Pastor Sullivan says this is just one way his church is able to play a part in helping people pull through the pandemic.
We know that depression is on the rise, suicide is on the rise, despair is on the rise. So when people are surprised because they're surprised by grace and the goodness that we're able to transfer to them, it's just a blessing. We're lifting that added burden off of people, and it's just an encouragement. So we love to know that we're helping so many different families.
Working for you on the East Side, Troy Washington, WRTV.
Troy, thank you. The pastor announced the initiative on Thursday for Thanksgiving to kick off efforts going into the holiday season. And those who receive the gift of having their debt covered by the church won't know the church is responsible. Tomorrow is the deadline for all K-12 schools in Marion County to return to virtual instruction. The Marion County Health Department issued this order on November 12th as part of updated restrictions to slow the spread of COVID-19. Many districts have already transitioned to full remote learning, including IPS. Several schools outside of Marion County are also switching to virtual classes because of COVID issues. Some cities, counties, and states are ordering even tighter restrictions as well. ABC's Alex Prochet reports the new rules come as health experts continue to sound the alarm about the dangers of holiday gatherings and celebrations.
As Americans head home from their Thanksgiving destinations, health experts warn the holiday could become a super spreader.
We may see a surge upon a surge. We don't want to frighten people, but that's just the reality.
The TSA screening more than 8 million people over the past 9 days. Tens of millions more driving, despite CDC warnings to stay home.
The plane coming back this time was way more crowded than going up, so that made me a little nervous.
November's now the worst month on record for the coronavirus. More than 4 million people infected, nearly 35,000 deaths. More than 91,000 Americans currently hospitalized, a 93% spike since November 1st.
We're exhausted. We are tired. I have nurses that in the middle of the day start crying because, they keep on getting patients, and there are just not enough nurses that can help us.
In New York, the positivity rate at its highest level since May. The governor could soon announce new restrictions. But public schools in New York City, which closed earlier this month, will begin reopening December 7th.
We will have testing that is going to go from monthly in every school to weekly in every school. We will have consent forms required for attendance.
Los Angeles County banning gatherings with anyone outside your household. Restaurants only open for takeout and delivery. With potential vaccines right around the corner, preparations are already underway for distribution. United Airlines has already begun shipping doses of Pfizer's vaccine. Moderna is expected to apply for emergency use authorization of its vaccine as early as this week. But new polling suggests 42% of Americans would not get vaccinated. Alex Prochet, ABC News, Washington.
Alex, thank you. One person is in critical condition and one person is dead after a shooting on the north side of Indianapolis. Police were called to the scene near 86th and Westfield around 8:30 tonight. The person killed is described as female. The person injured is described as male. Their ages have not been released. Investigators say the violence happened inside of a residence, and they say right now there are no signs of a forced entry, and they do not believe there is a threat to the community. We are working to learn more about a shooting on the south side that critically injured one person. It happened near Ransdell Street and East Pleasant Run Parkway, just west of Garfield Park, at around 5 o'clock this afternoon. We will bring you updates as soon as we learn new information. Beware of criminals targeting your front porch as holiday deliveries ramp up in the coming weeks. A rash of thefts have already hit the Berkeley Grove neighborhood in Fishers off 106th Street and Hague Road. Some of the crimes were caught on camera. Neighbors shared this home surveillance and doorbell video with WRTV. Packages were stolen off of front porches at around 6 p.m. on Friday. Homeowners posted about the incidents on Nextdoor and made police reports. Many of them then started working together to return packages found scattered throughout the neighborhood. We talked to an ICU nurse who says 2 of her stolen items were found, but 100 surgical masks that she ordered to wear into the hospital were not.
I didn't find out until later when my neighbor brought over the remnants. It was just everything opened and it had been scattered in his yard. So I looked back on the Ring doorbell and everything was on tape. And then I looked in my side yard and a bunch of my neighbor's packages were over there, all unpackaged.
It looked like 2 individuals were just walking through the neighborhood taking packages. So they stole ours right at 5:48 p.m. So we were in the house, neighbors had, garage doors up. People were out in the neighborhood and they basically just went down our entire street.
The second neighbor we talked to there says his packages were Christmas gifts and he did have one returned after a neighbor found it. We have reached out to Fishers Police to find out how many reports they have received and if any other neighborhoods have been targeted. The pandemic is making this holiday shopping season challenging for small business owners, so they are getting creative. Today, several Mass Ave shops teamed up to offer a special drive-through pickup event. Customers picked up their online orders in the Art Bank parking lot this afternoon without ever leaving their cars. Kristen Cohn with Silver in the City says this is not Mass Ave store owners' first socially distant shopping event, and hopefully it will not be their last.
We had an event last week, that's our Midnight Shopper event, and for that we did some reservation-based shopping, and so we might look at potentially doing another reservation-based late night of shopping again in December. We'll just have to see how our season goes.
The first 100 cars at today's curbside pickup received free swag bags. Several shops participated in the event, including Decorate, Nestle Inn, and Boomerang Boutique. Small businesses on the north side of Indianapolis are also working together. Once a month, Black Circle Brewing at 46th and Keystone hosts a marketplace for local vendors and artists. Participants can set up shop at a safe social distance in the brewery's beer garden. Jess Casey, the taproom manager, says now more than ever it's important for local businesses to support each other.
It's community over competition. It's a rising tide raises all ships, and we understand as a small business how important it is to just get your name out there and to help each other throughout this, especially right now.
The brewery started the marketplace 2 years ago. Today was its last day for the season, but the owner of Black Circle Brewing says there are many different ways you can still support his business and others.
Through the holidays, we just hope that you follow us on social media, so specifically Facebook and Instagram. We have delivery set up. We're offering free delivery, so you can purchase it through our website, blackcirclebrewing.com. And then you can walk in and still get carryout. We're still canning all of our stuff. And of course, if you can't afford it, that's great too. You can just share our page with your friends and endorse that and just get the message out there that we need some help.
Jesse Rice says Black Circle relies heavily on live events, which have stopped due to COVID and the weather. He says sales have dropped by more than 70% from last month because of those factors.
What happened to you? You're in good hands, or like a good neighbor, and so is there. A so-and-so is there.
A small business owner learned the hard way her all-risk insurance does not actually cover all risks, specifically viruses. Now she's fighting to change that for businesses all across the country. President-elect Joe Biden had to make a trip to the doctor's office tonight after injuring his foot. Why officials say his dog is to blame. New at 11, an early Santa sighting. Old St. Nick traded in his sleigh for a fire truck this evening, taking a joy ride around Carmel. This is something he'll be doing every week leading up to Christmas. The pandemic may prevent Santa from visiting with kids in malls and other locations this year, so this is a way for him to make a connection safely. One family tells WRTV the special visit made seeing Santa a community affair.
It seems like everybody's able to, go out in their front yard or just walk down the street a little bit and, not have to go sit on Santa's lap where there are thousands of other people. So, yeah.
It was fun to see everybody out, like from the neighborhood, coming together, and I think that was nice to see, too.
You can find dates, times, and locations of Santa's tours by going to the Holidays in Carmel section of the city's website. And Kyle, I agree. I think that would be pretty cool as a young kid to see Santa driving by your house in your neighborhood.
Yeah, it would. And some pretty awesome artwork on that snowplow, too. It looked like Santa had his reindeer, even though he was in the fire truck. Now, tomorrow, I don't think we're going to have enough snow out there for Santa's sleigh, so he may be still getting around town in that fire truck. Just watch out there for that. Temperature-wise, we're in the 40s. Leading edge of some of that colder air, though, not too far away. In fact, we've got numbers in the 20s there across the Central Plains. We've at least got some low temperatures in the 20s coming our way. As we go through tonight, though, we are going to stay, I think, near to above the freezing mark, and that is really going to help us out as we go into tomorrow morning. It should keep most of the pavement just wet, not snow covered for us. Still, it's been a while since we've dealt with some wintry weather, so that's going to slow down things. and also some of those bridges overpasses could be a little bit slick as they cool a little bit faster. But here's a look at TrueCast 7 a.m. tomorrow morning. What a wintry mess we are expecting to have here. Snow to the north, some rain south, and a little bit of a rain-snow mix there in between. As we go throughout the day on Monday, we'll start to see some of the heavier snows here across the eastern portion of the state. We'll also be watching for some lake effect snow as we'll have wind gusts around 30 miles per hour. So that coming across Lake Michigan will bring in some steady lake effect snows that could be limiting visibility at times. I think as we go into the afternoon, that'll start to push a little more toward the north and east. Still, though, dealing with some scattered snow showers across the area as we go into tomorrow evening. As far as the winter weather advisory, it's only around the Richmond-Connorsville area. We might see that expanded just a little bit, but that's one area where we could see 1 to 2, maybe 3 inches of snow, and other areas less than an inch is really what we're expecting. Some northern communities could see about 1 to maybe 3 inches as well. But I think the temperatures are going to keep a lot of that accumulation from happening. Once the snow reaches the ground, a lot of that's going to melt, because look at our temperatures tomorrow, hovering right around 35 degrees. Now, it's going to feel colder than that because of that north wind I talked about, gusting around 30 miles per hour throughout the day. And those wind chills as a result will be about 10 degrees colder in the middle 20s, so layer up for that. As we check out the 7-day planning forecast, we've got some sunshine returning to the area by Tuesday. Still cold and breezy, though, a high of 35. Temperatures moderating a little bit with fairly quiet weather the rest of the week. Highs in the lower 40s.
All right, Kyle, thank you. An injury could slow down the president-elect for the next few weeks. According to his doctor, Joe Biden has hairline fractures in his foot and will likely need a walking boot. The cause of the injury? He slipped while playing with his dog. The German Shepherd named Major has already made headlines because he will be the first shelter dog in the White House. A small store in Brooklyn is taking on Congress. The owner is lobbying for insurance coverage for future pandemics. Scripps reporter Stephanie Stone explains how this fight could impact businesses all across the country.
The next few months have been the darkest of my life.
This is Ann Cantrell speaking in front of Congress. The owner of Annie's Blue Ribbon General Store in Brooklyn says it's time for real solutions.
Insurance companies should not be in the practice of denying policyholders coverage when they need it the most. What happened to "you're in good hands" or "like a good neighbor"? And so is there. And so is there.
Speaking on behalf of the National Retail Federation, Cantrell pleaded her case.
We are a community store, and people look to us as a pillar of light and hope in the neighborhood. Kids meet their friends at the shop to pick out a gift for their teacher. Parents bribe their kids with a treat from our store if they have to get a shot at the doctor, or reward them if they get a good report card.
The pandemic, she says, nearly shut her down. She tells us she pays $6,000 a year for what she calls all-risk insurance. And she was under the impression there was no risk that wouldn't be covered.
When we closed by the governor, the literally government shut us down. I put in another call, each time saying that viruses were not covered under business interruption insurance.
The National Retail Federation says Ann is a voice for retailers everywhere. And while they were able to get a hearing, they say many insurance companies aren't on board.
What they're saying is this pandemic will not only not be isolated to one particular area, but it's like this seems to be, unending. It just keeps going on and on and on. So they're afraid that it will cost them trillions of dollars. What we're saying is we don't think so. We think that if we're paying into the fund and the federal government has money, the insurance companies will be fine.
Leon Buck is the vice president of banking and financial services for the NRF and says this is about the future.
If we were in a COVID-21, for instance, this happened again, maybe another virus would come, the business would be protected. They would file a claim with their insurance carrier that they pay monthly premiums to, and then the federal government would help pick up the tab.
As for Ann, who's loved general stores since she was a kid, this is about speaking up because someone has to.
It's not just small companies like mine, it's big companies, it's all companies that no one is covered under business interruption insurance.
Luckily, she says she built a good website and the holidays and her PPP loan will carry her through. And she hopes the next Congress will take up the issue. In the meantime, she reminds everyone to shop small. I'm Stephanie Stone reporting.
The Colts take on another division rival next week, the Texans, on Sunday. That game comes after a disappointing loss today to the Titans. WRTV's Brad Brown has a recap and reaction.
It felt a bit like a playoff tune-up for this second meeting between division rivals. A back-and-forth battle through the first 17 minutes saw the teams exchange touchdowns on the opening 2 drives. Phillip Rivers found Trey Burton for the Colts' first score, and Jacoby Brissett punched in a short run for the second. The game was tied 14-14 after the fast start.
We started off great those first 2 drives, and then we obviously hit that 6-series lull. I think we ended all 6 possessions, 5 of them with a punt, and then the one long interception.
But for the Colts, it was all a bit of a mess after that. The defense had nothing to offer in the way of stopping Titans running back Derrick Henry. Short gains for first downs. He cut loose for a couple of long runs as well. Henry found the end zone 3 times in the first half, had 140 yards on the ground in the first 2 quarters.
It was rough in the first half. I mean, they obviously, we talk about it, they had the best rushing attack in the NFL, the best back in the NFL. We knew it would be a challenge. I thought we handled it better in the second half, but we got to play better team defense for 60 minutes.
He was so effective, in fact, that Ryan Tannehill was able to run into the end zone untouched for Tennessee's 5th TD of the day. The Colts found themselves trailing 35-14 at halftime.
When you in these situations, you find out what type of team you have. Who's quitting on you, who's gonna keep playing. That's what we got to do. That's what I try to do today. That's why I feel like the defense came out in the second half. It was more so like, okay, are we going to lay down or are we going to step up?
The second half was largely uninspiring and uneventful. The Colts managed just 44 total yards of offense in the third quarter. An interception took some likely points off the board. They did manage to score a couple of short TDs in the fourth, but the early deficit was too much to overcome.
It just wasn't very good, and that's a lot of reasons. And what sums it up is the lack of execution.
The Colts fall back into second place in the division with a 45-26 loss.
When we play the way we know we can play, we've proven that we can stop anybody. But just doing it for 30 minutes isn't good enough. We got to do it for 60 minutes.
These 5 weeks are just as important as the first 5. It's one at a time. But certainly the consequences, although they all count the same, so you can point back to any one loss. But yes, the consequences are at the same time the reward, I guess, based on how these last 5 weeks is, a little more. I guess it's a little magnified.
So the AFC South looks like this now. Tennessee holds a tiebreaker over Indy as well with the better division record. The Colts are currently in a wild card spot, but it looks like they'll need to get to 10 wins to make the playoffs. The Colts go to Houston next Sunday. The NFL is telling all 32 teams to work virtually on Monday and Tuesday this week. They are closing team facilities due to the expansion of the COVID-19 outbreak. That's not a big departure for the Colts. They normally don't get practice on the field until Wednesday anyway, but it looks like they are in for an uphill battle in the month of December. Brad Brown, WRTV Sports.
WRTV wants to see your holiday cheer. Share a picture of your light display for a chance to win tickets to the Christmas Nights of Light show at the State Fairgrounds. For more information, just go to WRTV.com and click on the contest tab. Kyle.
And adding to that festive look tomorrow, some snow showers after a morning mix there. Much colder as well, with temperatures only in the 30s. Wind gusts will make it feel like the 20s. Most areas an inch or less of accumulation. And then as we go into Tuesday, things will dry out. It remains cold, though, at 35 for the high. We'll see those numbers recover back into the lower 40s for the rest of the week.
All right, Kyle, thank you. And thank you so much for joining us. Good Morning Indiana starts at 4:30 a.m. Have a great night.